How are you, Hardy? No, está muy bien, no, pero I hadn't checked. La que uso no sé si en Spanish. Si tiene un popular, no sé si anyway. Really? Oh, that was very nice.
That's good. That
You get ready?
here, yeah. Okay, now we're gonna get our own title. They did not have your coffee.
Yeah, they're gonna bring it over.
Oh, okay.
Wow. You'll get to know it. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Testing. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this beautiful day of life you've given us today and the blessings that you've given us up to now in our lives and those that you have in store for us the rest of our lives. Most of all, we thank you for that unconditional love you have for us. We ask you to be here with us tonight and continue to bless this institution, students, staff, faculty, and open our hearts and our minds, so we can make decisions that will be a benefit to our students, our faculty, staff, and this institution. And we ask this in Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
Dr. Rivera, will you please read the minutes of our June 18, 2020 regular meeting, please?
Yes, sir. The Board of Trustees of Southwest Texas Junior College met in regular session, June 18, 2020, in the Matthew Student Center, Blue Bonnet Room. Board President Rothar Flores called the meeting to order at 7:02 p.m. Board members present were Rothar Flores President, Dr. Harry Watkins Vice President, Dr. Nancy Rivera Secretary, Maria Nevada, Victor Lopez, and Nina Shackelford. Board members absent was Tony T. Moreno. Also present was Dr. Hector Gonzalez, President of the college. The minutes of February 20, 2020 regular board meeting and the March 23, 2020 special call meeting were read and approved as presented by Dr. Antonio H. Rivera, Secretary. Board President Flores welcomed the guests at the meeting, which included college personnel in Tarski, Gilbert Bermea, Dr. Mark Underwood, Margot Mata, Derek Sandoval, Connie Buchanan, Ismael Martinez, Wade Carpenter, Jimmy Callahan, and Steve Martinez. Also present was Dr. Robert Munoz from Colorado State University, and from the Uvalde Leader News, Melissa Ferrisfield. Audience to patrons were none. Quarterly investment report presented by Ann Tarski. Commencement schedule update presented by Steve Martinez. The college financial condition report presented by Ann Tarski. Summer one enrollment report presented by Margot Mata. President's report, which included April and May 2020 reports presented by Dr. Hector Gonzalez. A motion was made by Victor Lopez and seconded by Dr. Harry Watkins to approve the financial statements of May 31st, 2020, as presented by Ann Tarski. Motion carried unanimously, and the copy is attached. Item on the roof repair in Del Rio due to hailstorm damage was tabled. Motion was made by Anita Shackelford and seconded by Dr. Harold Watkins to approve the fall reopen plan. Motion carried unanimously, and the copy is attached. Motion was made by Victor Lopez, seconded by Dr. Harold Watkins to approve the UTSA MOU, Winter Garden Co-op. Motion carried unanimously, and the copy is attached. Motion was made by Dr. Harry O. Watkins, second by Anita Shackelford, to approve the dual credit in early college high schools, MOU. Motion carried unanimously, and the copy is attached. Motion was made by Dr. Harold Watkins, second by Victor Lopez, to add, revise, or delete local policies as recommended by TASB Policy Service and according to the instruction sheet for TASB Localized Policy Manual Update 38 with no changes. Motion carried unanimously. A copy is attached. After convening in open session, Board President Flores called the board into executive session at 7:37 p.m. to consider A, employment of deans, non-teaching personnel, and faculty under the Texas Code of 551.074, and B, employees terminated, resigned, retired, new hires, and transfers under Texas Government Code 551.074. At 8:02 p.m., the Southwest Texas Junior College Board reconvened in regular session. A motion was made by Dr. Harold Watkins second by Victor Lopez to rehire deans, non-teaching personnel, and faculty. The motion carried unanimously, and a copy is attached. With no further business or action items to discuss, Anita Shackelford made the motion to adjourn. Dr. Harold Watkins second the motion, and the motion carried at 8:03 p.m.
Were there any corrections or additions to the minutes? If not, they will stand approved as read. We're happy to have with us as our guests, Wade Carpenter, Ann Tarski, Ismael Martinez, Mark Underwood, Derek Sandoval, Melissa Ferrisfield. Thank you for being with us. Do we have any audience to pay?
None, sir.
Next is quarterly investment report.
Number 5A in your board packet is the quarterly investment report for the quarter ended May 31st, 2020. We had short-term investments in the amount of $9,331,000. Our long-term investments amounted to $384,000, making our total investment figure $9,716,000.
Any questions or comments? Next item is the president's report.
Yes, sir, and I'll be brief. Most of the items in the president's report are, we're going to cover as agenda items. I'll just share with you on the budget. The budget we're proposing is incorporates a 10% decrease in fall enrollment, and that's our assumption going into the fall, and that's really representative across the entire state for community colleges. That decrease is about almost $2 million in tuition fee dollars. We've also cut in half our revenue for the dorms, cafeteria, and daycare because they remain closed for the fall semester. It's our expectation that for the spring, we should be able to open them back up. On the expenditure side, we've frozen all the salaries at the current level, and that also is a similar strategy among most, if not all, the community colleges in the state. We reduced departmental expenditures, and we made some adjustments to how we calculate adjunct and overload pay. So that's kind of the budget in a very macro sense. When comparing this current year budget to the proposed budget, it's a decrease of $1.9 million. Going on to property taxes, we received our certified tax rolls just north of $4 billion. Calculated our 3 tax rates. So this year, as a result of new legislation, what used to be called the effective tax rate is now called the no new revenue rate. And that is calculated at 0.1546 per $100 valuation. Our current rate is 0.1614 per $100 valuation. And what used to be the rollback rate is now called the voter approval rate. is $16.71 per $100 valuation. So we'll discuss that a little further, but we'll be recommending the no new revenue rate for adoption, which will be about six tenths of a cent decrease. On the board elections, we're going to seek to get authorization from the board so that I may enter into contacts with Real, Uvalde, and Uvalde County to conduct our board elections in conjunction with the November 3rd election. Financial statements. This is good news. As of the end of July, we have a net asset increase of $2.1 million. A lot of that has to do with, we saw a good increase in summer enrollment, as did most of the state for summer. Some of the expenditures were less because we were in a remote setting. And then the CARES Act was able to pick up those additional technology costs that otherwise we would have had to cover. So we'll be ending the year with a good addition to our fund balance heading into the next year. On the COVID-19, we continue to experience staff members that test positive. Derek, to date, 6. We've had 6 employees test positive. None of those were acquired at the college, so they brought it from home to work. We feel that the mitigation protocols that we have in place have kept that at that place and not spread amongst the college. So we continue to improve our mitigation standards and protocols. We're doing spot checks, making sure people do what we say we're going to do. And if we follow our protocols, we should be okay. Just a little info here on the stimulus bill. Excuse me. The stimulus bill that has been in Washington. So there's actually 3 different bills. The Senate Republican, it's called the HEALS Act. That one has $30 billion for institutions of higher ed. And the Senate Democrat bill doesn't have a name, but that one has $134 billion for institutions of higher ed. And then the House side that was passed earlier this summer, it's the HEROES Act, and that one has $36 billion for institutions of higher ed. The current CARES Act that we're operating under had a total of $13 billion for institutions of higher ed. So we're looking forward to any one of those 3 bills or somewhere in between would be a nice assistance for us moving forward. And that's kind of a brief synopsis of where we're at. Enrollment is looking good. And I say looking good. And I shared this with the faculty at Convocation. It's rare that we would celebrate a 10% decrease in enrollment. But our budget is built on a 10% decrease in enrollment. And as of this morning, which would have been last night's enrollment, we were probably about 88%. So we're getting there. We feel we're going to get there. It's not going to be record breaking, but if we can get to 90% of last fall, we're going to be in good shape. And I feel confident that we'll be able to hit that target.
Thank you. It's a good report. Next item is consider an act on financial statements as of July 31, 2020.
Number 7 in your board packet is the financial statements for the 11 months ended July 31st, 2020. We had an educational revenue in the amount of $41,344,000. Student aid revenue, $14,923,000. And our auxiliary enterprises had revenue in the amount of $885,000. Our total income was $57,153,000. Our expenditures under total education in general were $31,954,000. Student aid expenditures, $19,692,000. Auxiliary enterprises had expenditures of $1,065,000. $73,000. Our operating revenue before debt service was $4,432,000. And after debt service, we showed an excess revenue amount of $2,186,000. The details that back up those figures are found on pages 2 through 11. On page 12, you'll see our statement of net assets as of July 31st, 2020. We had total current assets in the amount of $9,705,000. Our non-current assets, $45,432,000, making our total asset figure $55,138,000. We had current liabilities in the amount of $7,351,000. Our non-current liabilities were $22,496,000, making our total liability figure $29,847,000. Our net assets without GASB adjustments were $25,290,000. Again, our net increase in assets was $2,186,000. On pages 13 through 15, you'll see our summary of account balances. As of July 31st, we had cash in the bank of $4,018,000, certificates of deposit $4,350,000, making our total account balance $3,368,000.
No, 8 million.
I'm sorry, new glasses,
$8 million?
$8,368,000. The next segment shows our investment in CDs on pages 16 through 18. We had restricted CDs in the amount of $3,850,000, unrestricted $500,000, total amount of certificates of deposit $4,350,000. The next page details the maturities and the renewals that occurred during the month of July. On page 20, we show the figures of all of our scholarship amounts. We had total scholarships in the amount of $947,458. And on page 21, our other investments, the Will C. Miller stock had a market value of $169,486. The plant funds had a value of $162,778.
Questions or comments? Entertain a motion.
I'll go ahead and move we approve the financial statement.
All in favor, say aye. All in favor, all against? Motion passes. Next item is considered on board resolution designation of tax calculations.
Yes, sir. This is due to a change in the statutes. We have to formally have the board order or resolve and designate Ann Tarski, our VP of Finance, to make the actual tax calculation.
I move.
The second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Next item is consider and act on resolution to allow President Hector Gonzalez to contract with the election officials of Uvalde, Real, and Zavala counties to perform Board of Trustee elections in the November general election.
I move.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Next item is consider an act on optional retirement contribution rate.
Yes, sir. So we're asking the board to match ORP to the TRS funded rate of 7.5. Is that correct, Ann?
Yes.
Yes. So each year we have to authorize that additional funding because the state only covers 6.6 of it.
How much is that in money?
We have 3.
How much?
How much of it?
Yes, sir.
I I think it's less than, it's less than $150,000 to,
But that's a total
yeah, that's the total.
at 7.5. So
Yeah.
probably about $12,000 difference
Okay.
from the 6.6 to the 7.5.
Any questions or comments? If not, we'll entertain a motion.
I move we approve.
All in favor, say aye. All opposed, motion carries. Next item is consider an act on certified tax rolls subject to properties under protest.
Yes, sir. That's item number 11. And again, you see Zavala County, $1,441,862.40. Uvalde County, $2,102,496,495, and Real County at $504,194,884, for a total of $4,048,553,419, subject to protest. And
Any
we,
questions or comments? We'll entertain a motion.
I move. Second.
All in favor, say aye. All opposed, motion carries. Next item, consider an act on the proposed tax rate.
yes, sir. So as I discussed in our president's meeting, you'll see the no new revenue rate of 1546, the current rate of 1614, and the voter approval rate of 1671. The average home for our district is 93,773. And you can see the tax at the no new revenue would be $144.97 for the year. At the current rate, it would be $151.35, so about $6 difference. And a voter approval rate of $156.69, which is about another $5 more than the current rate. And we recommend that we decrease our rate from 1614 to the no new revenue rate of 1546. And our budget is built on the 1546 number.
Any questions or comments?
I just want to make a comment that I think that's very noble of our institution to do that, because these are hard times for everybody. So any little bit that we can help the people in our communities is greatly appreciated. So, and I'd like to go ahead and make a motion to accept.
Second.
Right.
Next item, consider an act on placing a proposal to adopt the tax rate on the agenda of a future meeting.
Right, so since we're gonna recommend, or we're proposing to adopt the no new revenue rate, there will not be a need for a tax hearing. So we can go straight to just posting a notice that we will adopt a rate at our next board meeting, which would be September 17th. So we need to take a formal action on that.
We'll entertain a motion.
I move that we recommend.
All opposed, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next item is consider an act on 2020-2021 operating budget.
Yes, sir. So what you have before you, and since the enrollment is such a big piece of the budget, we deferred bringing it to you in July because that number, we were 30% below where we needed to be in July. And we wanted, we start school on Monday. So we wanted to use that time to see if we had to cut the budget even further, that we would have the opportunity to do that before we brought it to you for consideration. As I say, today we're at 88%, but I feel confident. We have registration through Tuesday, late registration, and I think we'll be able to meet our target of 10% decrease in enrollment. So this is a very modest budget. I think there's cuts across the board. The biggest cuts is in tuition. And also along with the tuition, we cut overload pay, adjunct pay. We figured we're gonna have less classes, so we're gonna have less part-time faculty, less overloads for our faculty to teach. So those two went hand in hand. We decreased the dorms, the daycare, cafeteria. Since we decreased the revenue, we decreased the expenses as well. So there was some savings there and not a total loss. And then the departments, we looked at what the expenditures have been this year. We've operated in a remote setting since mid-March. And we had some savings. For example, like college labs generally have to spend a lot of money on lab materials. We didn't spend that. We opted to go virtual, and we purchased software to do that, but we didn't have to pay that out of our pocket because the virtual software was funded through the CARES Act. So we picked up little savings like that. So that was an opportunity to reduce departmental budgets as well. I think we can go through it line by line. There's no, we're sitting on, right now, I'm holding probably, let's see. $14 positions that we have people either terminated, resigned, or retired. And not all of those are in the budget. Some of them we eliminated from the budget, but a lot of those are still in the budget. But I'm holding off hiring people again, because that gives me another, if we don't hire any of those, that's $900,000. So I'm trying to hold back as long as I can, make sure we have the enrollment, make sure everything is gelling before we start, hiring more people back. This really was a blessing. Some of my colleagues have put in place a reduction in force plans to balance their budget by us holding, and we started holding positions probably, I'm going to say May, June, we started being very selective on what we had to replace. There's some positions that we absolutely had to, some of the nursing, because of the clinical balance between the number of students and the number of faculty that we absolutely had to. But if we were able to hold it, we're holding it. And that's an extra pad that we have in the budget right now with those positions unfilled. Again, trying to be conservative. And we also have a contingency, about 300,000, and
No, it's a little bit over 400.
400,000, a contingency in this budget. Again, another cushion, in case, if spring doesn't track the way we think it's going to track, we have some cushions built into this budget that will help protect us.
Well, you all are doing a great job. Balanced budget, reduce the taxes, increase everything else. So.
And you can see there on the first page, our revenue went from 57.5 million to 55.5 million, a decrease of almost $2 million.
And with the decreases, we still have added to the reserve.
Yes,
How
sir.
much? 2 million something?
We had 2 million in July. We'll probably be a little bit south of that, but $1.5 million, 1.7.
So you all have done a great job. And thank you again. Okay, we'll entertain a motion.
Right.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is consider an act on adjunct overload pay for 2020-2021.
Yes, sir. So I'll give you an overview. If we have specific questions, Dr. Underwood can go into a lot more detail. In essence, what we've done is back, I want to say in the mid-90s, we were encouraging faculty to explore and to venture into online. So we set up a separate adjunct pay, overload pay, to encourage them to go into that modality. And we said 15 students is going to be equivalent to a class. Classes are normally 25 average. And anything above 15, we're going to pay you a bonus for it. And so that was back in like I said, in the mid-90s. I don't know of any, we couldn't find any scientific research as to why 15 was chosen, but it made sense at the time. We had already assigned a committee to look at revising how we pay adjuncts and overloads to just to have another fresh look at the process and something that would make sense now that we have more online prevalent. Then the pandemic hit, that committee stopped meeting, or we asked them to stop meeting. And as we were working on the budget, we looked at this and everything's online. And it's just financially unattainable to pay everything that we're doing at the 15 class rate. So we decided for this year, we're gonna move that 15 to 25 and pay them based on that. Once we get past this year, we'll hopefully we can get the committee back to keep looking at their recommendations and make a recommendation as to what it should be going forward. So it may come back as 18, it may come back as 20, but for this time period and for this budget, for this environment that we're in, we're asking the board to endorse our recommendation of paying them above the 25 mark.
I just have a question, Hector.
Sure.
Any particular reason why there was no faculty on the committee?
Well, the original committee was made up of faculty, the one that's working on the long-term changes for it.
Mhm.
So this is just the balance, the budget Band-Aid committee here.
Okay.
The full committee has faculty and faculty chair it.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's why this is just temporary to get us through this budget cycle.
It does make sense that originally, I think way back in the day, I mean, it was more tedious to try and do distance learning, the technology, the computers, all this. Now it's, I guess, facilitated a lot of stuff. It's a lot easier.
Dr. Underwood, anything to add to that?
Or there's that. That's exactly right, Mr. Moreno. That's one of our persuasion points was that we don't have to literally beg people anymore to teach online or through the video conferencing system. The video conferencing system used to be quite tedious, and the system would crash. When I was doing it in the early 2000s, it crashed 4 or 5 times. During the class, you literally have to go around the TV and push a button and do that all yourself. And so the technology is much better. The number of faculty who do online, teach online as well as video, I'm not even sure how many there are now, there's dozens of them. And so they're eager to do that. And so with our LMS being better, the Canvas, the Canvas system being so much better, we don't send test papers back and forth from Crystal City to here and to here and yonder back and forth. It's all done virtually. So the 15 number was, as Dr. Gonzalez said, as far as we can tell, pretty arbitrary. But we do understand why it was used, because we needed faculty to learn how to do those things. We feel like it is a significant savings if we move to 25. This is the only aspect of the overload adjunct pay we're asking for consideration at this point. This is in line, by the way, the 25 number with a number of other schools that I checked with during the ad hoc committee's work. So.
Any other questions or comments? If not, we'll entertain a motion.
I so move.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. All opposed, motion carries. Next item is review test be update 39 legal policies and act on local policies. See the attached list.
Yes, sir. This is item number 16, and this is primarily changing our legal policies and local policies to be in line with the Title IX changes, primarily with sexual harassment, sexual violence. So there was significant changes to the statutes, and what this has done is codifying a lot of that legal and then changing our local to match with that. And then the other one that doesn't deal with Title IX is the records retention on what is considered to be an item that needs to be retained. As you recall, when we met in June, we had a big policy adjustment. And this one is just a catch-up for that. It's a very small policy update.
Any questions or comments? We'll entertain a motion.
Move to accept the recommendation.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Next item, consider an act on Uvalde County Appraisal District Board nomination.
Yes, sir. This one barely came in under the wire to get it on the agenda. But there's two board of directors for the UCAD, Javier Flores and John T. Buchanan, that their terms have expired. So we have the opportunity to nominate two members. I imagine in October, we'll get the list back and be able to cast our votes, because every taxing entity will have the opportunity to nominate a board of director. And I'll defer to Mr. Moreno. I mean, he's on our board representing us.
Yeah, I'd just like to make a comment. Mr. Javier Flores is also the UCISD board chairman. Very good gentleman, does a good job. And Mr. Buchanan's a CPA, so he's very capable and of that position. I would highly recommend both of them. Anybody has any comments? Not, I'll I'll go ahead and make a motion to split the votes on both of them.
Oh, we don't have any votes. We'll just put those names forward.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'll second.
Is there a second?
Okay.
All in favor, say aye. All opposed, motion carries. It is now 7:37, and the board will convene in closed session in accordance with the Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Codes, Section 551.071 and Sections 551.074 to consider personnel matters, employees terminated, resigned, retired, new hires, transfers, Texas Code Section 551.074. We're now in executive session.
Sure.